I've been thinking.
That could be dangerous.
Everybody's got a podcast now.
Okay.
We should make this a late night show.
We're gonna have Ed McMahon on, and we'll
Yeah.
We'll get dressed up as the Great Karnak.
We got to find a couch.
We can do that.
I got a desk, and then if we have another person, we can get him to silently sit on the couch like Ed McMahon. Yeah.
Well, it's not really a podcast because we don't really.
It's not on podcast.
Right.
Apple Podcasts.
Right. If we don't like it, we don't have to publish it.
We don't know what it is.
Right.
People seem to like it.
Speaking of podcasts, they did the 247 podcast was kind of interesting last week.
Oh yeah,
it's interesting listening to yourself talk.
Somebody said that it was one of the best episodes they've heard. Yeah.
Well, good.
I think I'm going to be on there. He's interviewing me in March.
Good.
Because I emailed him and I said if there's anything, because normally, as the creative director of BoxerWorks, I have something to offer in situations like that. So I emailed him, and I was actually talking about your episode. I was like, if there's anything you need, let me know. And he was like, well, maybe we could interview you. So it kind of worked out. I don't know what he's going to ask me.
We'll see. I only heard the first half of it. So
yeah.
I'll listen to the second half here.
I have jokes that I could make right now, but I'm saving them for the podcast when he interviews me.
Well, good.
How was your week working on stuff?
My week, let's see. Well, I'm working on this GS behind you that I've been kind of working on and then not working on because I've had other stuff to do, and making some headway. It's pretty greasy. It's the second greasiest bike I've worked on in the last month. A lot of deferred maintenance.
You showed me the engine stud.
Yeah. I don't understand how it got drowned in oil.
It looked like someone had greased it, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. I've got that R69S that I sold. Been working on it, trying to get it ready to go. It's guys coming tomorrow to pick it up. Murray and I rode it. It's the best running R69S we've ever driven. I mean, it's just got tons of power, roll-on power at 65 miles an hour, go right up a hill without downshifting. Got great brakes, shifts nicely. I mean, it's a one-owner bike with 16,700 miles on it. So, and it's set for years. So it's pretty nice. That's leaving tomorrow. We had that R80 GST leave to go to Texas, and it's being driven to Ecuador. We sold it to a guy in Ecuador. That left yesterday. Chad picked that up, and it's been a fairly productive week. We got that bike back from the frame straightener that was pretty twisted that we bought, cheap R100 GS that we'll put together. Guy brought us an R69S with a rebuilt motor that he can't get to run. We'll piddle with that. Guy brought us an R50 last week from North Carolina that we got Murray will do the motor on. So it's not like we need more work, but we keeps on coming.
We're getting a lot of /2 work.
A lot of pre-70 stuff. Yep. All of a sudden we get a lot of pre-70. We did that two plunger frames, the two R67s works on them, and now we've got a bunch of pre-70 stuff. Yeah, we got this white one here that we're still waiting on parts from Kibblewhite. We're waiting for 7 weeks for them to get parts in for us so we can finish the heads. And we have 2 conversion sidecars for sale that we built a couple of years ago. One's going on Bring a Trailer. We've got an R80 GS that we bought in Pennsylvania, put one of our replica tanks on. That's going up on Bring a Trailer next week. We don't know when. Bring a Trailer takes forever. Murray's doing a rear drive for a guy in South Sudan. We did a gearbox for him. He actually lives in Cambodia, but he works for AID, and he's in South Sudan now. So yeah, it's been it's an eclectic week.
Lots of stuff going on.
Lots of interesting stuff. That's I think the further we get into this business, the more eclectic the stuff starts to show up, and I think people in general are starting to fix their bikes because they work money now. So a lot of stuff showing up that normally we wouldn't see.
Yeah, we kind of bounced from doing a ton of projects to having a ton of repair work.
Yeah, the repair work's always been there. I mean, before you got us on Instagram, we were, a repair shop. Did a couple of projects occasionally, and then when you got us on, we started doing the World Traveler bikes. We did a bunch of them, and that's kind of slowed down, but the GS stuff is still up and running. And then repair stuff is, we've always got a ton of repair. What's good actually is that there's enough big projects so that we can keep Chuck busy and we can keep you busy, and Murray and I and Garrett can just do even Garrett's working on that R90S project for Borland, but he's doing other stuff in between. He's kind of become the used bike guy, and that leaves kind of Murray and I to scurry around and do this, that, and the other. So it's nice to be able to pick and choose what you want to do, when you want to do it, the stuff you got to do, so you don't get bored. You got lots of different projects. Yep, I think it's great.
I've had a one of those extremely productive weeks, but I didn't do anything big. So
I thought you were going to say, I had a very productive week, but I didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, it'd be hard to just tell you what I did. But it was like installing battery boxes, like all the little things on the what I call the box build, because it came to me in a box. All the little stuff, installing the drive shaft into the swing arm, and just a bunch of piecing the bike back together.
Well, when you get a project like that comes from somebody else, and it's in every piece possible, crankshafts out of it and everything, you get a really good schooling in how things work and why you have to do certain things, so that by the time you get to the end, it all works. So I think it's great. The one Chuck's doing, we took apart, but we didn't. We took it apart, and the motor didn't come apart. We were doing the top end, but we didn't pull a crank out and the cam out and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a great learning experience when you get to put all the parts together. You've maybe taken apart before, but not in one unit.
Biggest thing I learned this week, something I'll never do again, the Woodruff key and the oil pump. Underneath the rear main seal, you got your oil
the
pump.
rear main seal.
Yeah. There's a little Woodruff. Some models don't have the Woodruff.
Starting in '81, they changed to a cam with a flat, so you can just slide it in. It doesn't matter. You don't have that anymore.
So the Woodruff key I was trying to put in there, something's not right about it.
It's the one you got.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't fit right, and I was trying to get it in there, popped out, fell down the hole, and just hearing it, I knew exactly where it was. It fell into the oil pan, not just into the oil pan, but on top of
the pickup.
The pickup.
Well, you had the oil pump. The pan off anyway.
No, I already put it on, and the bolts Loctite.
So that's a good reason in the future not to put it on.
Right. Or just to take a paper towel.
Right. Well, paper towel's okay, but then it's behind the oil pump rotor, and then once you get all that on, and you got to figure out how to fish it out. So, what some people do is they put white lithium grease behind it for two reasons. One is so that it'll pick up a prime real well when it's had no oil in it for a while, and the other one is because with the lithium grease in there, it's kind of like Jello. If something hits it, it's just going to bounce back out. It's not going to go down inside the motor.
Huh.
So those holes in the back, if you fill them with lithium grease, it helps pick up the oil to start with, so that you catch a prime. Because you got to crank it over without running it until the oil pressure light goes out. When you put it together. So this will keep that from happening. I can show you that in the future, but
that's really good to know.
That's another thing you can do.
Huh.
So.
Wish you had told me.
Well, but now you know what happens. So what's the best way to learn stuff is to screw it up.
To make a horrible mistake.
Out.
And it's not that big a deal. It didn't
right, but
cost
the next time you do
anything.
it, if you've got the motor apart, you'll leave the oil pan off.
Yep, exactly.
If something happens.
I don't know. Maybe I'd risk it because it was real easy putting that oil pan on when the engine was out of the bike, and I just flipped it upside down.
But why do it twice?
That's true.
You only get paid for it once. Well, you get paid for it twice because I pay you to do it, but I only get paid for it once.
It's so true.
So,
yeah.
it looks like we talked to a couple people about our replica tanks after you posted on IG. And one guy ended up buying a real tank from a friend of his that wasn't in great shape, but the price was right. There's another guy in Florida who wants one, but a guy called me today who heard it on the podcast, and he'll be our first one. So I'm selling the first 2 or 3 at wholesale. I want some feedback from people. We'll see what happens. So this guy's in Kansas.
No,
We'll get something out to him next week.
I think it totally makes sense to price them at where you have them right now.
Right.
Because in the shop, we have the tools to do everything. And you've been super honest with people about, like,
You have to be.
it's still a replica tank, and you might, and
Right.
even with the stock tank, you have to do a little bit of
Right,
fudging
rubber
around.
shimming. That's why I'm selling a little bit wholesale to start with. I want some feedback from people if I have to change something before, I want them to feel like they bought it at the right price, and when they're done, they'll have something they're happy with that's probably worth more money once it goes to the regular price. So,
And as long as you're honest with people, like we've sold Browns to people before, which you can put on like an R80 GS or an R80 ST. It's just really, really hard.
yeah, well, we figured out how to do it, but yeah, I mean, we figured out how to put it on the R100 GS too, but
It's not a fun.
It involves some machining and some welding, and so on and so forth.
And once you're honest with people, people are fine.
Well, and everybody I've talked to about the tank, I've said, you got to be capable of doing some fitting and some piddling, and they all said, yeah, we can do it. And I said, if you're a not get your hands dirty guy and expect it to go right on and all, it may be, but they all take a little bit of massaging, even the original ones. So,
or you could just ship us your bike and we could put the tank on for you.
Right, and then we'll fill it up and that'll get you home. One tank will get you all the way home, maybe. That's where you live.
Yeah.
So we sold a bike on eBay.
Oh yeah, the R100.
Yeah, the R100 are kind of a bits of bike. And the guy who bought it was in Michigan. And when I called him about the bike, it turns out that he was getting ready to call us anyway about a conversion. Somebody had given him our name about a conversion, and so we talked about that. But then he's coming on Wednesday to pick up the bike, but he's bringing us 2 bikes to work on. In the meanwhile,
we get rid of one.
We pick up 2, which is great. Right?
Yeah. What is he dropping off?
He's dropping off, I think, his R60 US chassis for us to help him with the conversion complete. Okay. He doesn't want the motor and transmission. He's got another bike to put it on. And he went to Indiana last week and bought a R90 in pieces. He's bringing that. And then he's going to Florida and picking up another bike. So he's going home. He's coming down with 2 and he's going home with 2.
What motor is he putting in the conversion?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet.
R90 or R100?
Yeah. I asked him if he bought this 70 horsepower RS to put the motor, and he said no, he had 6 bikes, and he had some stuff to pick and choose from. So we'll see, but it's just kind of funny that he's picking a bike up and he's dropping 2 bikes off. I mean, we sold one of the GS's, R80 GS's we had to a guy in Louisiana. He brought us a bike. He brought us an RT to pull the fairing off and do a bunch of stuff too. So he came with one and left with one.
Oh yeah,
and picked one up.
I'm sure there's a whole market out there of people who that's how they learn about us. Like, not on Instagram, not on anything, but they are on like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and eBay.
Well, the guy in Michigan, somebody told him about us. I guess we had done some work for him, and so. I always ask people how they found out about us.
What part of Michigan? Okay.
The cold part.
To me, it's all cold.
Yeah.
I think I'm going up there in May.
To do what?
I don't know.
Okay.
My girlfriend's family is going. And
oh, you're going. They're putting you in a cage and putting you in the back of a pickup truck and carry you up there. Well, good.
Yep.
Hopefully it'll be warm by then, or they give you a coat.
No, I'm using the Delta Companion Pass.
Oh, okay.
Which means if she flies, I fly free. So no reason to say no.
Somebody's got to carry the bags. So this guy's coming to get this red RS this week.
He is. He's racing this weekend.
He's racing the next weekend at Roebling Road. He runs a Ducati, and he told us when we started that he was very ADD about the bike. OCD, right. Well, same thing.
I think he'll be happy.
Yeah, we've spent a bunch of time. It's been here a while. It runs great. Does everything it's supposed to do.
Every screw on this bike is turned perfectly.
Good. Well, you're learning. It helps you
The
make sure it's
question
done,
is-
and it makes a better presentation.
Yeah, the question is if he notices or not. I'm sure.
He's that type of guy that I think probably will.
Yeah. I mean, I do that with every bike.
And you should, because it makes it easier for you to go back and make sure you're done. And
Yeah, one of the best things you ever taught me, if you're going to tighten up a screw, it doesn't take any extra effort to just put it either perfect.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we
perfectly
said,
perfect,
when you're involved in a lot of different projects at the same time, and you see all the screws are lined up, when you go back, you say, "Oh, did I do that?" You say, "Oh, yeah, all the screws are lined up." You know it's finished, and so you can go buy it. Oh, did I rebuild those carburetors? I can't remember. But was it the other bike? Oh, the screws are all lined up. Everything's finished. Yeah, it's done. It's the same thing as the manufacturers when they put a little green dot on there to tell you that that's their quality control. It's been tightened, it's been touched, it's been torqued, it's been examined. So that's our kind of.
It is intimidating that he's riding his race bike in a race, and then he's going to come test ride this.
He's had the bike a while. I mean, he's not,
Yeah, I don't think
expecting it.
he hasn't ridden it though, or it's been sitting a while.
Well, he's riding the road bike. He'll
All I'm
notice it.
saying is I don't know how I'm going to compare to a race bike. You know?
Well, it's not a race bike, so
It's true.
he'll be happy with it. It runs well.
Yeah.
It's quiet. All things
Real
considered.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a 70 horsepower bike, and for a bike that's fully fared, that's normally noisy, road noise and engine noise, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it telegraphs everything with that fairing wrapped around it. So, and it's hot in the summer, and my left foot gets stuck in the fairing. I couldn't.
Thank you for riding it.
Yeah, and I'm hunched over trying to hold my hands way down and my head way up. I suppose there's a reason for this, but I don't see it. It's what happens when you get old, I guess. I never liked those things, even when I was. I'm not a fairing guy, so. But
I can't say I am either.
if you ride in cold weather, if you ride a lot of inclement weather,
Yeah.
great.
But at the same time, like, I want my motorcycle to be sexy.
What you really want is your motorcycle to be running. And that would be a lot better than just being sexy. That should be your priority.
Fair.